Welcome. My name is Fraser Cobbe, and this is our kickoff podcast for the Acropolis channel. It's my pleasure to introduce our two hosts today, Brian Lally from Penn Medicine and Hina Saeed from Baptist Health, South Florida.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? Really excited today because we're kicking off Acropolis. Part of ACRO's mission is to educate, it's to advocate, and it's to make radiation oncology great again. And so in order to do that, we're going to be launching a new channel today called Acropolis. And what we've done is tried to bring together several different programming ventures to kind of put a channel together that covers education, advocacy, and just general discussion that we should be thinking about as radiation oncologists. And so what I want to do now is kick it over to Hina, who's going to tell you about the channels that we're putting together as part of Acropolis.
Thank you so much, Brian. So we have three key players in this programming: the hotshot, the rower, and the accelerators. With all of these dynamic groups coming together and presenting their content and presenting their very distinctive content, we aim to create a powerful, engaging forum that includes not only education and didactics, but also extends much further beyond it to include many of the relevant topics that are pertinent to our field in general. All right, with that, I would like to get going with some introductions of our team members. So let's start with hotshot. So Laura, Caleb, and Sam. Tell us a little bit about hotshot. How did you come together? What inspired you to start this forum?
I guess I'll take that question, the first question. They can take others. So this actually, we're all have a history of being co-resident. And so it was really kind of born in the resident room. We were getting really overwhelmed with the fast pace of literature coming out and just how hard it was to actually read so many publications that were being, put in our inbox every day. So we had this idea to just try to kind of make it fun and easy, particularly, for community rad oncs who are busy and practicing, across virtually every disease site. We wanted to have a fun and easy way to keep up with the current data that was coming out.
Okay. So you guys do produce a lot of content. It's kind of like mind-boggling. How do you do it?
Hi, this is Caleb, one of the co-creators of QuadShot. So I guess one answer is I don't know how we keep up with as much of the information that we have coming out. I think a lot of it is just we've gotten into a rhythm since being in residency with writing the short summaries of articles. And so just knowing what we're looking for in an article, and also just being in general practice helps. There's always different questions and things that we're trying to find out about how to improve our practice and how to improve our care. And so browsing the literature and then finding those topics that are relevant to everyday practice seems to resonate with a lot of other people in general practice.
Yes. Tell us something about yourself that we do not know or you would like us to know.
I guess one of the things that I was going to say is that this is a product that we started as residents, which, Laura's already mentioned, but, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but if there are residents that are listening, I hope that can potentially be an inspiration to you, that even something that you come up with during training can potentially be something that you want to continue in your practice and can hopefully be something that helps other people. So, that's one of the things that comes to mind in terms of, something about QuadShot that other people may not know. In general, Laura and Caleb do almost exclusively all of the work to produce the newsletter, and I typically run the podcast. And so that's part of how we divide up the work. And those are some details that people may or may not know.
I was all excited to introduce my favorite dance group, the Accelerators, next. As someone who has been admittedly spending maybe a little bit too much time on social media, I really love, our next partners for their following and their engagement and everything that I see that they're doing. I want to introduce the accelerators, three of my favorite radiation oncologists, Anna, Simmel, and Matt. And I wondered if they could tell us the story of how they came together and a little bit about themselves and what they're trying to accomplish by putting the accelerators together. You guys really should have been a rock group too. You know what I mean?
Well, Matt's a pretty good musician. I'm Simmel Parikh, medical director at Lake Huron Medical Center in Port Huron, Michigan. So the genesis of this was soon after a YouTube presentation that we did, this virtual visiting professors network, where I spoke with a few other folks about the landscape in radiation oncology. And I think afterwards we noticed that, people from Cleveland Clinic and people from MD Anderson and chairman and president of Arrow. And then there was me. People like me have not been featured on much of the content for radiation oncology. It's academic people, it's people in leadership positions. When you talk to program directors, it's the same three people every time. And what we wanted to do, me, Matt, and Anna were friends offline, and we wanted to broaden the voices of people we hear about. We also, we love telling stories of our specialty. And that's I've kind of pushed back a little bit on our pregame calls about the Fox and Friends comparison, Brian. We don't bicker. We're not providing misinformation. We're doing human interest stories, and that's because humans are interesting. That's where the Builder series came from, where we talked to groups of radiation oncologists and individuals who've been building apps or designing things or creating art in our field. It's where the dads and moms episode came from, because yes, we're doctors between 8 and 4, but most of my identity is in my role as a father. And many of us are parents, and I think that was interesting. We had Julie Larkin, a physicist, on from MD Anderson, and that was one of our great episodes. I loved it. She's one of the most interesting people in radiation oncology. Kind of the neat thing is almost everybody that comes on our show, not everyone, but almost everyone, it's their first time on a podcast. And that's a win for us when we get someone who's never been featured before. Anna had a great conversation with one of our now partners. Anna's passionate about art, and we had Danielle Cunningham on, who's a resident at Mayo Clinic. She's now our artist for our podcast. And we love it because art and medicine do go hand in hand, and we can't forget about that side of our brain. We've dived into payment reform, Scaney scores, new techniques for treatment, the oral exams. Those were fun episodes. The job market, of course. I think the thought was that it would just be fire and brimstone with me and Anna and Matt yelling about residency contraction. And that's not all we're interested in. That's one thing we're interested in. So, there's so many stories and there's so many journeys. We're not Fox and Friends. We're trying to be Oprah. And I think that's kind of the plan for us. I kind of wanted, the three of us were going to talk about some of the things we're interested in. And I think this year, one of my goals is to continue using this platform and our platform with Acropolis to create a parallel ecosystem for radiation oncology. My kind of case study for this was our arthritis project. Friends of the show found that people were treating arthritis with radiation on Student Doctor. We talked to some of those folks. Friends of the show, Jason, Bekta, Mudit, Chowdhury, Austin Dove, and others wrote a review article on this. Then I had Austin on our podcast, I should say, and he's been on our spinoff podcast with Jason Bekta talking about how to treat it, the nuts and bolts. That's had over 1,000 listens. We've answered questions on MedNet about this, and people contact us directly. I'm going to be putting together a free webinar about this. And so we're going to improve the lives of patients throughout the country, and it's not through seminars or conferences or journal articles. Well, there was one journal article. We're using mediums created by people like us to get the message out, to teach, to improve people's lives, and it's working. I'm not as interested in writing a red journal article about physician burnout that has accompanying CME. I want to have a doctor who has burned out, who had to take leave, who rose from the ashes and has advice for us to avoid what they went through. That's the kind of stories that I want to hear about, learn about, and I want to disseminate. So as long as you're listening, we're going to keep telling your stories.
That's great to hear. It's kind of funny. I do apologize for the Fox and Friends comment because I do think you guys sound more like Oprah now as I've listened to you more and more. And as you talk about how you are like Oprah, what's the secret? How do you get your guests to open up and participate like you do on your shows?
Good looks and alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That wasn't. No, that's I think it's a great point though, and just to kind of build a little bit on what Simil just said. I think that we've been very passionate from the beginning about being informal, because one of the issues we had with the the traditional channels is that they're so formal, right? Partly because a lot of them come out of academic publishing and these big organizations. So it's a lot easier for the three of us to have people come on and just kind of be themselves. And we do kind of push that with people when they join the show, just to try to get them to, to like open up a little bit. And it seems like it's been a really good recipe. A lot of the great feedback we've had has been about just kind of how the show's been just very approachable, honest, kind of talking about things, even if we feel like there are things that we struggle with or things like that. So we feel like that's been a super important point, and we hope to keep that going for sure.
So any secrets or funny behind the things that have happened in what you've been doing that you could tell us or share with our audience here at Acropolis?
Sure, I'll take that question. So yeah, I think just to add to what Matt and Simil have said, I really think kind of the secret behind what we do is really each of us bringing different energy to the table, highlighting different areas of Radonc that aren't talked about as much, and that was really at the core of our goal for the accelerators. In terms of funny stories, for one of the episodes, Simil and I had been having this great conversation, I think initially by text, and then we ended up, doing our Zoom call to get the actual episode and had this wonderful conversation. Then realized that we had forgotten to hit record. It's kind of a rookie mistake, but thankfully we're able to, re-record and do have that an even better engaging conversation afterwards. Thankfully, that's only happened one time, but many other stories too. But that's a good one.
Hey, Hina, can you introduce Rover now?
Absolutely. So moving on to Rover, Archie and Jenna. You guys have a little bit of a different approach to the content delivery compared to the other two. I'm curious to hear more about what inspired you to create this Rover platform. Tell me about a little bit about yourself, who are the key team players, and how do you just do what you're doing?
Thanks for introducing us. So we've taken a little bit of a different route. We first started because we were both medical student clerkship directors at our different institutions. And when COVID hit, we noticed that there was a lack of education, and most education was going virtually. And there wasn't a whole lot for medical students at that time. And so we came together to kind of grow that educational platform for medical students. And then we thought, why not open that up nationwide? Following that, we thought, why not add different cases for residents and kind of growing the educational content in that sense. So each iteration of Rover over the last 2 to 3 years has grown on each other. We do more of a webinar style platform with poll-based questions. They're case-based, and they're more of gray zone cases. This year, we're working in making it more of like a multidisciplinary, almost like a tumor board in different controversial topics in radiation oncology.
What do you look? Go ahead, Archie.
Oh yeah, and I was just going to add, so the team is me and Jenna, and then we have a wonderful coordinator, Navjot Sandhu, who's applying to medical school this year, and we have a rotating group of residents who help us put the cases together and moderate the session. So this year we have Utkarsh Shukla, Ryan Hutton, Jacob Hall, and Raj Kumar as part of our team.
Mm-hmm. So you seem to have quite a bit of variety in your panelists and your topics. What do you look for when you're selecting those?
Yeah, we aim for diversity. So one of the advantages to our format is we're able to bring together folks from all over the country. So different institutions, different so they can discuss, their different perspectives and ways of practice. So we try for a diversity of geographic location, also of seniority. So we try to include a lot of junior faculty in addition to, the known names in our field. We try to have diversity of gender as well, just to show to be as inviting as possible, because a lot of it is for outreach of medical students who may be interested in learning about radiation oncology and our fields. And then the other thing that we think about when we, select topics and speakers, again, we have a great group of residents who are passionate about education. So we feel really fortunate to have them give us their input in terms of what topics that they and their colleagues are interested in, who they'd like to hear from. Like some of the sessions we have this year aren't even necessarily related to like radiation treatment. I think we have a session, Jenna, in January on pregnancy and family planning during training and during radiation oncology. So I don't know, Jenna, if you have anything else to add to that.
I think it's grown organically, and every month the topics and panelists change. And so we really try to have panelists from all over the country, because everyone treats cancer differently and has different perspectives on that. And so that's something we certainly aim to achieve with those conversations about these cases.
So considering how small our radiation oncology community is, there seems to be a relatively great deal of enthusiasm within the community to create some engaging content and programming. What tips do you have for others who are trying to recreate what you have created, and any funny lessons learned along the way?
I think it helps to have a coordinator. Like it's been hard we do these sessions every month. So even with the two of us, Jenna and I, were pretty busy with, everything else going on. So it's been super helpful to have a coordinator, keep on top of everything. Sometimes with the panelists and speakers, it's like herding cats, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I think anyone can also do what we've been doing. And I think that should be something to give inspiration to any resident who's interested in education or other positions. I think the more content, the better. I think, as Archie said, piggybacking just kind of constant communication and, communicating with panelists, and then having a group of people that the residents that we work with who are really passionate about everything. Funny lessons that we've learned. We have a website, and I never knew how to run a website, and here I am on Squarespace every other day trying to just plug in things. I don't think that's that funny, but it is something that, as a radiation oncologist, we're constantly learning different technology and now websites. So.
Okay. I'm really excited now to see how this takes off. And I think it's going to be a great year. Now that we've heard from all the partners who are going to form the content or the channels for Acropolis, I want each of you guys to tell me what impresses you most about the other and some of the interactions you've had to this point. We should start with, who do you think, Hina? How about my favorite group, the Accelerators?
We've had the pleasure of working with both Quadshot and Rover. And we, me and Anna and Matt, we love them. I'll let them speak as well, but Rover has made what many students think of as an impenetrable specialty very approachable. I think it would have helped us if we had this a decade or more ago, because people get so bound up in this idea of doing a physics exam and a biology exam and how hard it is then to get into radiation oncology, but you guys show how cool it is, and I love that. Quad shot, it's my daily fix. I have it with my coffee every morning. It's inspiring how consistent you guys are. And I love it. I mean, it keeps me up to date. There's very little time these days, and you guys distill things to very, very approachable and understandable tidbits, and I love it.
I don't think I've ever done anything in my life as consistently as Quad Shot has done their thing for so long. It's pretty impressive, actually. That's a great point. I just wanted to add one quick thing. I think that one thing I love about all of these is they fill a niche, right? So the feedback that we've gotten, it has been that it fills kind of like this editorial or opinion niche that we were talking about these issues. But there's no question, just from my perspective, that Rover absolutely fills a med ed niche that became huge during COVID. And so I hope that continues on. It's really democratized things. And then, as everyone knows, there's really not anything like Quad Shot, and it's been such a huge boon for the field. And I think it's also fun how people get really excited to be cited in it. It's become fun to watch people post their little Quad Shot blurb, and they get super excited about it, which I love. So the great group of people, I think.
Yeah, I really agree with everything. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, no, I really agree with everything that Simil and Matt said. Both groups, Rover and Quad Shot, are really impressive. And I remember when kind of in the resident room, with Quad Shot, if anyone's article gets featured, it's a huge point of pride, and just, really kind of like what, Simil said as well. Yeah, it's kind of part of my daily routine now, checking Quad Shot, really staying up to date. And I think it's so interesting that, it started from just kind of, how overwhelming it is to stay up with the literature. I think it's made it a lot more accessible, but also fun and creative. And then with Rover, I think, in addition to, just really the awesome sessions, I think the website too, Jenna, all the hard work pays off, because it's such a great repository now for med ed resources for residents. So, and, practicing physicians. So awesome work.
Since you mentioned being cited by Quad Shot, I think one of my favorite moments in my life is when my Peloton ride last year hit Quad Shot. So why don't we have them talk next?
Yeah, I'll say I just didn't really enjoy hearing people talk about radiation oncology kind of outside that academic setting. Going from residency, where you get to talk to people a lot about radiation oncology, to practice, where I don't really get to talk to that many radiation oncologists on a daily basis. I talk to a lot of other specialists, but it's just different. Getting to hear people talk about radiation oncology topics, and what do people think about the latest advances or different things going on in the field.
Yeah, I'll just ditto that. I'm a solo practitioner now, so I feel like things like the accelerators and Rover really helped me have a sense of community with other rad-oncs, which the other people are the reason I went into this field in the first place. So it's good to be reminded of that. And I'll just say my favorite thing to happen on Twitter is when someone gets proud to be in the Quad Shot. I love that.
Well, I mean, obviously there've been a lot of great points that are made, but I think, to kind of echo a little bit of what Matt was saying, I think it's great. And one of the things that makes this sort of collective group special is how there is sort of a set of different niches that everyone fills, and that collectively comes together to give a very sort of rich collective product. And I think that Rover is great in terms of its content. I think it's also really important in terms of the timing at which it was developed and a lot of the target audience. I'm impressed with sort of how in tune the Rover team was to the need that existed, and the way that this creates opportunity and space for medical students to approach radiation oncology, learn more about it, and then for people of all levels to continue to learn and stay up to date in radiation oncology. And, so similar to what Simil was saying in terms of just the approachability of radiation oncology and making people understand whether or not this is a good fit for them, and, if they might be interested, which is something that I think is awesome, as we want to continue to attract great candidates that are great fits, and that love taking care of patients and moving cancer care forward. I think the accelerators, just like the whole experience of listening to the accelerators, knowing them as people, being on the podcast with them. I mean, it was just, it's exhilarating. I don't even know really the right term. I just feel excited. When we were on the podcast with Simmel, I was like ready to charge out of the room and go to tumor board and fight for patients. It's like so inspiring. And so I think that, one of the things that is impressive to me is just their willingness to not shy away from hard topics or challenging topics, but to dive into them, particularly ones that are highly relevant to humans, highly relevant to oncologists and to trainees. And I think that, the content that they provide and the platform that they create is special and something that I hope will continue for a long time.
That's a great comment. I really love listening to them for the same reasons, like you just said. Jenna, Rover, you guys want to hit it on the last one here? Tell us what you like about Quad Shot and the accelerators.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would echo everything that everyone has said. I would say the accelerators, I often, after listening to a podcast, I kind of feel like when I'm at an annual meeting, where you get excited and you're like kind of like after hours talking to some people and you're having these like deep conversations, that kind of excitement about different topics, which is really fun and definitely a joy to listen to as a podcast. The Quad Shot I feel is like the OG, and I love the TBL, like the bottom line, right? And I mean, those are the emails that I never delete. I even go back and make sure, even when I'm like not on vacation, making sure that I'm like learning little tidbits, because I honestly don't even know how you all do take all those articles and kind of condense them down, because it's an honor to be a Radonc next to you all, because you really do kind of make it digestible. So I think, everyone has such great programs.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jenna and everything everyone has said. Jenna and I had a great time on the accelerators. When was that? Like a few months ago. And with Quad Shot, I've had the honor of having a couple of papers featured on that. And so that was very exciting. But yeah, I really appreciate all the work everyone's done to just make radiation oncology approachable and fun.
Okay, so what excites you about the partnership with Acro, and what goals do you have? What individual goals do you have for Acropolis? Let's start with let's see, Simmel. The accelerators go first. Go ahead.
Well, I think specifically with Acro, we enjoyed the sort of membership drive that occurred not too long ago, learning more about Acro, what they represent. And I think it's a very good organization as a supplement or a partner to Astro. There's room for multiple organizations in this space. I think that being a community practitioner my entire career aligns my views pretty well with Acro's, and I think that we share similar interests in how we view the future of the field. I think you guys are going to really help us broaden our audience, and I'm excited about that, because that'll hopefully also broaden our guests, because more people that listen and say, hey, this is interesting, and maybe they'll want to be on our show and talk to us about something new. So I think it's a win-win. We're super excited about this partnership. And thank you for having us.
Anna, Matt?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what was just said. I think for me, one of the things that is exciting is just it's innovative, right? So I think that there's a lot of room for innovation here in this space of just doing, kind of media type things for our field. And I think that Acro seems to be an innovative organization. The pineapple thing was huge. Even my wife, who's not in medicine, was like, "Are those the pineapple guys?" So I think, it's very memorable, and I think that was great. And so I'm looking forward to just seeing how this goes. And I think I'm really excited about it. So, and thank you all very much for the kind words. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I think just to add to what's been said, I think in particular, I'm really excited to work with Acro to really be inclusive of the younger generation of radoncs as well. And I think Acro does a great job, building excitement in that group. In the Acro meetings that I've gone to, there's been a lot of content, geared for residents and kind of younger, practicing physicians. And so that's something that I think will continue to elevate the voices of really a diverse group within radiation oncology. So definitely excited for this opportunity and to see where it goes.
Moving on to COTCHOT now.
Yeah, I'm excited with the enthusiasm at Acro. So just to work with people that are, other people that are excited about doing similar things that are a little outside of the box in terms of education and advocacy.
I think that one of the things that we all have an interest in is making an impact, and making impact not necessarily just for the patients in front of us, which is extremely important, but also making an impact in others' lives and the care that's delivered to others' patients. And I think that this group creates an opportunity for us to have a bigger impact, to reach more people. And hopefully together we can do some pretty important things and move the needle forward. And that's one of the things that excites me about the partnership, because I think we are very well aligned with Acro in that goal, and just excited to be here.
I think Laura might have stepped away. We'll move on to Jenna and Archie.
Jenna, did you want to start or? Oh, yeah, no, we're excited to partner with Acro, similar to what many of you said. We wanted to kind of extend our reach and synergize with some of the already ongoing awesome efforts in the space.
Jenna, you want to add something?
Well, we just want to grow our community. We want to educate medical students, residents, and we're all learners. And so our hope is that Rover continues to grow with Acro, and that we can continue to educate and really be a great resource for Acro members.
Yeah, no, we are all very, very excited to have you guys on board here. I also added a little bit to what Anna said, that creating something for the younger people. So let me tell a little bit of a story that happened like 3 years ago when I was in an ACR meeting. And we were talking about COTCHOT because COTCHOT was the only thing there at that point. And everybody under the age of 40 on the table knew COTCHOT. Nobody above the age of 40 knew who COTCHOT were. So yes, we are creating things for the younger people, but I want all three of these groups to be known by people who are older too. I think we just need to include them. So I guess it was kind of very intriguing to me when I saw that. Let's also talk a little bit about the calendar. So for everyone, stay tuned for all of this brilliant programming, approximately 8 times a month, at least twice a week. The content will be delivered under these Acro partnerships, and it will be on the Acro channel website. So stay tuned. And thank you so much for joining us. We are very lucky to have you and very excited to have this amazing group of people.